I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cap, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to get up in the game like I'm Pac-Man. So I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. Call me Captain.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Kase Court Podcast. It's your boy Kase, the realest basketball fan alive, and I'm live from Las Vegas, Nevada, West Side. Thank you for tuning in. This is season 3, episode 3, and I'm here with your boy Adrian in Colorado. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, Kase? Thanks for having me again. Really looking forward to chatting with you.
All right, for sure. We got some good topics to go over today. Just to give a quick background, we give detailed analysis on NBA rosters as we cover our fantasy basketball network called the Association. You know, we got members from all parts of the world, all using real life salaries outside of the first one because, you know, once you go cap, you don't go back. You feel me? So in today's episode, season 3, episode 3, the topics we have today for you are, we're going to focus more on the March Madness League that we have, which is more of a points league. So we're going to be breaking that down for you today. We're going to be talking about some point league strategies. We're also going to be talking about some interesting trades that we came across in that league and just comparing just trading strategies across, you know, points league versus category leagues. And then finally, we're going to be wrapping it up with the fantasy basketball International World Cup playoffs that just kicked off this week. So, Adrian, you ready to get into all of this?
You bet. Very excited.
All right, for sure. So first topic we got is the March Madness. And I'm here with the commissioner, Adrian himself, as I like to call Tradrian. How you doing, man? So you want to get into this March Madness, the setup, and just a quick background of the league?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think a lot of people, even the ones that are in the league, know. Obviously, they know it's a points league, but in terms of like how it started in the framework, because it's a very like customized niche point system as far as how the different stats are valued. So for some context, as far as how it came about, I want to say about like 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago now, I joined one of my first fantasy basketball leagues, and it was a points league, which had just like an odd points system. And I actually really liked it because I felt like it was close. So the idea behind the system is what we've tried to do over the course of the years, because it's been tweaked since that original one that I first joined, is to try to capture overall value that a player contributes over the course of a game. So the more value that a player adds to a team via their stats, whether that's, you know, scoring or stealing or assisting, whatever it is, just combining everything that it is that they do, you should have a higher points value than, you know, someone else who didn't contribute as much. And so that's why you'll see certain stats like steals, like blocks, which are more rare and add a lot of value, are worth more than just a rebound. So it's been tweaked a lot over the course of the years. Efficiency is also very important for those guys who, you know, get a lot of turnovers or miss a lot of shots. It definitely affects your overall score. And so it's just, I think, a very interesting system and very different to categories. So it's just a refreshing, especially for those who are in a lot of leagues, to just have something a little bit different.
Okay, that's interesting because when you talk about the balance of the points league as far as offense and defense, you know,
right?
Points leagues tend to favor more offensive players or just players that score, you know, high usage players. So it's nice to see. I guess, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of points leagues myself, but when I'm, you know, seeing the setup and, you know, the whole, you know, 30 team and how it tied with, you know, the March Madness theme, that was intriguing. And, you know, the point system was also something that was at least acceptable on my end, you know. So I did like how the defensive attributes were given a bigger boost, you know, to kind of give a better balance. So that's, I guess, my feedback on what you just discussed.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think it's very true. Like if you look at, I think the default like scoring system, I'm not familiar with it because I've actually never played it, but isn't it where like each stat is kind of just like worth, you know, 1 point, or they're sort of like almost all the same? So of course, you know, points are way, you know, the balance of scoring versus a steal or really any other stat is just so outweighted. And so I think that we've tried to sort of balance that. Or even, we've gotten into details, especially in the last couple of years as we've tweaked it further, where like offensive rebounds are worth more than just a defensive rebound, because an offensive rebound should be worth more. It's more valuable, and it gives
Definitely
a team a second chance opportunity, and sometimes it's just a quick putback. So that player should be rewarded for that. So yes, I think it's a fun system, a little bit different. I think overall, I'd probably still say at this point I like category leagues more, but I think it's fun to have both.
Yeah, that definitely. As far as I guess overall approaches and the differences in points and strategy. I guess is that it for the background you wanted to get into? Did you want to, I guess, dive right into the differences between points and category leagues?
Yeah, I think we're probably at a good point to talk about the differences. And so this is also an experiment, even on my end, even though I have more of an experience with this point system. I've never done it in a dynasty format, never done it with a salary cap, and never done it in a 30 team. It's just been like a standard redraft 12 team that I've been doing for the last few years with a couple of the guys that are in the league in March Madness have been with me in that 12-team league, but a lot of people are new to it, and so are we with this new format. So in terms of evaluating, trade value, picking out different strategies with having such a large group of 30 teams, it's been like just basically a completely new game, new strategy. So it's been very interesting so far.
Yeah. I find what's interesting with the points league is that missed games cost you a whole lot more compared to category leagues. Like, that little 10 points that you might be missing could cost you the whole matchup.
That's right.
As opposed to like, in a category league, you could have someone miss a game, but it's like the things he contributed in, you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm not even worried about those categories. Like, it probably won't even affect the outcome.
Right.
Ever,
Yeah. So I think for me, like the one thing that I've always liked more about points leagues versus categories is, let's say you're like a punt assist team. If one of your players gets an assist, that does nothing for you whatsoever, right? You're not going to get anything if you're just getting destroyed in assists that week. And
well, I mean, I would say to attack that concept, but what I've noticed is that, well, I wouldn't say what I've noticed. I would just say logic tells me when you run into another punt assist team, like that becomes very valuable.
True. Yeah, that's true. But I think for the most part, like in a matchup, like if you're playing against a team that's strong in assists and you're a punt assist, if a player gets you an assist, that gives you no added value. It means nothing to you. You're looking for rebounds. You're looking for whatever sets you are.
Whereas points leagues, everything that
counts.
Right.
So that's one thing that I definitely I think like about the points thing and makes it exciting. Especially if you're like following along, watching the game and following your player. Doesn't matter what they do, they miss a shot, and you're like, dang it! They score, they do whatever, and it means something. Whereas in a category situation, you're just looking for specific things usually.
Well, I mean, I guess this is a good, I guess, expression of how the analogy of how some people say points league is like chess and categories like checkers, like just the whole thing that you just said, how everything counts. Like in checkers, if you think about it, all the pieces actually count. You have to clear the whole board, you feel me? Whereas like in chess, like all the pieces don't have to count. It's more strategy based. So that's more of how category leagues are. So everything doesn't have to count. Like, so it's more, if you have a good strategy, you will have a leg up as opposed to someone that's
right,
just filling up all the categories just aimlessly.
I haven't heard of that analogy before, and I also haven't played checkers in a very long time, so I'll take your word for it, Kase.
No, it's funny because I never saw checkers that way as far as like everything counting, but like when you said that, I kind of saw that connection that, okay, yeah, everything does count, because at the end of the day, like, you don't win until you clear all the pieces.
Right.
So
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So we can go, I guess, right into I guess, is any other differences between points and non-cat leagues you wanted to highlight, or I guess?
I think with like trading, it's been very interesting seeing how that's been because obviously, we've got an extreme in bubble in particular, but also in the court where there's like trades happening all the time, right? And people find a certain player that fits their team better, and so even if they might lose overall in quote unquote value, it's something that makes sense to them, and they'll go through with the trade. Whereas with a points league, it's a little bit harder to establish sort of like, oh well, I need this because you just need points. And so
Right.
the key thing you're going to look at as far as evaluating how valuable a player is how many fantasy points they score per game. So I think it makes trading a little bit harder. And so that's why it's been very interesting for me to see when you add the salary component, when you add the dynasty component, how trading for a younger player or trading for
It actually makes it more fluid. It makes the trading more fluid.
Exactly, because I'm with the same scoring system. I'm in the 12-team league again this year, and I don't think. I mean, it's been very quiet this year, but there hasn't been like any trades so far.
Yeah,
Everyone's just kind of set in their ways and set with their teams. Whereas with March Madness, it's mainly been an Ethan show, but we've had several trades going on throughout the year.
And I was just going to get into that. In that, what I've noticed is that in category leagues, it just allows way more trading as far as I need this versus you need that.
That's true.
And like in the points league, like you said, like we haven't seen much trading going on outside of Ethan, and it's just Ethan just kind of doing a sell off.
Right.
Or whatever. So
there were some big ones early on, but I think once the season started, there really hasn't been anything crazy, no big names, except for maybe someone that's been injured or Ethan.
Exactly. But I did want to say the big ones early on were more they were more tied to the back end trades during the draft. But
that's true.
Yeah, but
there were a couple of big ones like
exactly.
Colby acquired Towns.
Exactly. The Colby and Ben trade, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the one. I guess we could get right into and probably talk about.
Sure.
As far as trades, because that was an interesting trade. Did you want to, I guess, detail?
Sure. Yeah, I can recap it. So I don't remember all of the picks, but I think the trade was basically Ben gave up Towns, who was obviously his first round pick, for DeRozan, Cole Anthony, Colby's first round pick, and I think there may have been like a second or something in there as well. And at the time, Ben got blasted and was saying, "How could you give up, a 50+ fantasy point per game guy for an aging DeRozan? Cole Anthony, who hasn't really proved all too much necessarily, at least in a points format." So I remember him getting blasted. Everyone thinking like, "What are you doing?" And I mean, it's definitely paid dividends for Colby. He's at the top of the standings. He's got Embiid and Towns as a huge 1-2 punch. But when you look at how well Cole Anthony has done, and I thankfully was able to snatch him from Ben, he's actually been very, very good. And I think averaging like close to like high 30s per game.
Yeah, no, that's looking like a great trade right now. But
right,
I will say when he initially made that trade, and this is going to highlight strategies, right? When he initially made that trade, I was on the side with everybody saying, "Yo, why are you giving up like this top 5, dynasty guy for these, he's like third, second round, or third, fourth round type of picks."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So. But when he responded saying people don't understand points leagues, I was like, like that's when the idea of strength in numbers hit me. Like, okay, man, maybe he is onto something as far as like getting those 3 players that are going to be solid as opposed to just having one is probably more worth it. So
especially in like a COVID season where we've seen so many guys just miss games left and right. Having more options is definitely helpful.
Exactly, and that's really coming to fruition for me in the bubble. Because if you look at my team, it's not really a team that you would expect to be like, all right, this is going to be like a top 10 I was expected to tank. Like in fact,
Kase, I owe you an apology in Bubble. Didn't I give you like 29th in the power rankings?
Something like that, 28, 20. It was one of the bottom teams, but it's all good. At the same time, like, you weren't the only one, because, like, in the beginning of the season, like, I was getting bombarded with messages saying, like, yo, you have a lot of players that are hurting your tank. I'm like, that probably means I have a lot of players that are going to do good. So, like, why do I got to, like, I mean, my whole theory is that at the end of the day, this is a salary league. Like, there's not too many teams that are stacked. So and you never know. Once you get into the playoffs, you never know what can happen. So at the end, like, my whole thing was, I know there's a lot of these aging veterans that people don't like and whatnot, and I'm still a fan of them. So I'm like, okay, these guys are still going to ball out and have opportunities. Just rotate them in and out, and I still kept my core of young guys at the same time to kind of throw them in when they get their opportunity. So yeah, that whole
paying off dividends for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that whole strength in numbers thing is like definitely paying off, especially with this COVID season. Because I mean, one day I looked at my team and I had like 5 or 6 red flags, and I'd even realized, like, oh shit, like 5 or 6 guys are out. Like, I didn't even feel like it. So
right.
So yeah, that's definitely something. The COVID season is impacting, but I guess I'm seeing a bigger impact in points league, as far as the concept we just talked about. As far as everything counts in the points league. So that's why the strength in numbers strategy is even more powerful.
I think the strength in numbers is definitely a key thing for the points league, and it's definitely something that I think I've tried to follow, and just have a lot of depth, right? So even if you lose a guy, you lose a couple guys, isn't the end of the world. It's a very like risk averse strategy, I think, as well. And I think at least in the scoring system for March Madness, big men typically. So it sort of depends on what you value, because you'll see there's certain players, especially guards, who are like streaky scorers, where they're super inconsistent, right? You can have like 2 games that are just complete duds, then they have an incredible game, and then back, and they just keep going back and forth
because of efficiency. I got Daniel Tice, and that he is so annoying, because and like me, I'm a Rocket fan, so I actually watch them, so I should be aware of like when he's doing well or not, and like I never hit it. Honestly, like I start him and like he doesn't play, and then when I bench him, he's over there like he comes off the bench and plays like 30 minutes. I'm like, sheesh.
Right.
Like this. So
it's funny you mentioned Tice, because what I was going to get into is that typically big men, their stats are a lot more consistent, because a lot of their value comes from like rebounds or having just a block or 2. You're going to get a big man who at least gets 6, 8, 10 points a game. And so their production can be very stable. So someone like Gobert, for example, right? It's just sort of like they're always producing around the same amount. And then they'll have great games and it can go great. And they'll have some weaker games, but there's a much smaller variance between Gobert's production on a game-to-game basis versus someone like, honestly, even like a Trae Young, right? Where he goes off for 56 points like he did just the other night. And he's, got an incredible amount of fantasy points, and then he can go 2 for 18 and he's giving you like 10 points.
Well, Gobert's a dinosaur as far as to his playing style. So I think we're seeing more of Porzingis. So think of Porzingis. like even like when you think of even Daniel Tice, I just mentioned, like, you don't think of him as a shooter, but if you watch him, he's a perimeter center. so it's just the new era that we're in with like these centers, like
that's true.
With them stepping out to the perimeter, we're seeing it fluctuate the way you're saying, and since with it being such a guard-centric league, we have a lot more guards that are like, okay, they're going to get their minutes. The wings are going to get their minutes. And then centers, they just kind of throw in whatever jumbo is working for the night. That's another reason we're getting a lot of these, like, up and down performances from these big men. And, it's really hard to hit.
Right.
So,
I think also the one other thing that there's a big difference in value between players for in points leagues versus like categories is those types of players that have like very niche stats. So for example, like the first one that comes to mind is like a Matisse Thybulle, where
Yeah, I
he's
was
like,
thinking like a Josh Hart.
okay, yeah, sure.
Hmm.
So like guys that basically, let's say, like don't score at all, don't really do much in rebounds or assists, but are just like stocks kings. Like
Hmm.
that's not going to really give you all too much in a points league. Like, and we have where steals and blocks are worth more than any other stat. But
Yeah.
if you're just doing that, your overall production from a stat perspective is not a lot compared to someone who's scoring 20 points, getting 5 assists, getting 4
Hmm.
rebounds, a steal, and a block.
But
And so their value, I think, drops a lot compared to what that's worth to you in categories where someone like
that's true.
Miles Turner
That's true.
can win you blocks just by himself.
But those guys are so much more of a wild card because
Right.
they take so little attempts, so like that efficiency hit. So like if they like don't miss any shots, they're like 2 for 2. They shot 100%. You know, that gives like so like yeah they're such that's an interesting dynamic to
Right. That's
give
where I think
more.
those types of guys are so much worth, or they're so much more valuable in a category league versus points league, where you just want
Mhm.
overall production. You don't care how you get it; you just want production.
Absolutely, absolutely. So um, I guess I'm trying to scroll through these trades and look for any interesting one. I mean, Ben got busy during the off season.
In March Madness,
Yeah, he got busy with the trades.
yeah, he went off with a bang, and I think was one of the ones who immediately started, making all these moves. And then Ethan came in, obviously took everyone over.
Oh,
Um,
this one's an interesting one. This one shows you how quick value changes. Okay, so Ben received or Hoyas received PJ Washington, and then UTEP
mhm.
received Hoyas first, Cole Anthony, Hoyas six. So that's the Cole Anthony transaction you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the one I mentioned. So
Yeah,
that was
so
right
Cole
after
Anthony.
Ben
Mhm.
traded away Towns. So
Yeah,
Ben traded away Towns for DeRozan and Cole Anthony and some picks, and then I was able to get Anthony and some picks for PJ Washington. Where I think in a
that
category
was
league,
sneaky. That was
yeah, I
sneaky.
think in a category league in the offseason, PJ Washington, with his stocks potential and just, I think he's pretty efficient as well.
Yeah.
Someone like that is very, very valuable. Whereas
Like
in a
I
points
don't think
league,
I don't think the off season happened yet either. So like, what's his name? Like Kelly Oubre didn't join yet, or I don't know if they signed Mason Plumlee yet. So PJ Washington looked like he was having like a bigger role coming to the season.
I think we had our draft after free agency, if I'm not mistaken, because everyone wanted to wait. Um, but it might have been like around the same time, or it was very
Okay.
new, or it happened right after. I
Okay.
honestly don't remember the time
Okay.
frame. But
I know at
yeah,
least Kelly Oubre signed later.
yeah, you're
So
right. You definitely did.
yeah, but overall, yeah, look. I mean, that's a steal. Honestly, the draft pick should be flipped. I mean, it should be Cole Anthony for PJ Washington of first and two
Sure.
second.
Well, I'll tell you, I did not expect Cole Anthony to be as good as he has been. I thought he was
Yeah.
going to be, especially
Uh,
for a points league, like at least like roughly like 10 points per game less than he has been.
oh,
It
absolutely,
takes you from like
absolutely.
a star to just an average guy.
Yeah,
Marcus
yeah,
Morris
definitely.
averages 20 something points per game, so
Hmm.
big difference there.
The thing with Cole Anthony, like I saw the big opportunity for him coming, but I mean, I didn't see him playing like to this level. But I did get him in like all my redraft leagues because he was pretty much my last pick in all
Well,
the
I think
leagues.
also during the offseason there was some concern around him because Magic had just uh,
Drafted Jalen
they
Suggs,
drafted Jalen Suggs,
but
and then Fultz was supposedly going to be coming back, so it sounded
but
like
he
it
tore
was going
his
to be a crowded.
ACL though, so he wasn't going to come even till like March or so, February. I mean, maybe like
I thought his
February.
original projection as far as returning was earlier, but it's definitely been delayed since.
Yeah, it's the ACL tear, and they weren't gonna push I
Right.
mean, we're still waiting on Clay to return.
That's
So
true. That's true. I think he's coming back
there's
Sunday.
yeah. That's a great big anticipation
For
coming
sure.
around the corner.
For sure.
So I guess we could probably move into our our next topic. I mean, I guess let me finish scrolling through these trades that we were kind of.
I think one last one in March Madness that's fun to highlight was Ian, the A&M Aggies.
Mhm.
He I think had drafted with the intention of like going full win now, and then I think decided he didn't have enough juice and wanted to turn things around, and so he traded away Lillard for Gary Trent, Norman Powell, and some picks.
Okay.
I think that one's been interesting because I think you think about that in like a category league, and it's like, oh man, the guy who gets Lillard like destroyed, right? And
Yeah.
got a lot. But then you've seen like Lillard miss a lot of games this year, and with
Gary
his
Trent
salary,
breaking out.
right? Gary Trent broke out a little bit, and so it's very interesting just seeing how different the trade value can be. Yeah, just a fun time.
Well, I would even say a little bit. I would say, I guess from watching, you could say he's breaking out a little bit, but like fantasy wise, Gary Trent is breaking out a lot. Like those steal values is killing it.
But see, that's where in points league it's not necessarily as valuable as it would be in a category league.
That's true. That's true.
But overall, I think in the points league, he's done much better than he was in years past. So yeah, it's just been fun to see him grow, and a lot of other guys as well.
Okay, interesting. All right, so let's see. So I guess we could migrate into the court versus the bubble, and
Sure.
and just cover what's going on in there real quick. It's interesting. Shout out to Matumbo, the defending champ of the bubble.
Oh man.
And man, like he's on top on both leagues, and just trailing along. You feel me?
That guy is just unbeatable, man. I don't know how he does it. It's just in bubble, I think he is first right now. Yeah, he passed Joy once again, and I think in the court he's dropped a couple spots lately, but still hovering in the top 5. I don't know how he does it. He's just always hanging around, and I think especially in the bubble, I know he was dealing with some like crazy injuries because he has Morant, he had Jokic, who were like both out at the same time for a while, and yet he's still just like racking up all these wins. I don't understand.
I mean, he also has like the Kelly Oubre, Dennis Schroeder, who are like sleeper value. So
True. Yeah.
those are
I
pretty
think
good
even
fillers.
Schroeder has been in and out of the lineup. Like I just don't understand how he just continues, racking up wins and climbing up the standings and staying atop. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. And then over in the court, I'm actually happy. I didn't even notice he. Like, see, I'm so focused on the bottom of the standings, I didn't notice he slid down to 4th.
Dude, your tank is impressive. I mean, there are some avid tankers in the court this year, and you're like just beating them by a landslide. I mean, I think the only one that's somewhat close to you is Jerome with the Magic, but
Yeah.
you've got 39 wins and Portland at 28, at 48. So.
I mean, the thing is, like, I got a bunch of injured players, so I got like Fultz, Zach Collins. It's like whenever they and like I got Kyra Lewis who tore his ACL, and like all my players are either injured or like G League guys. So like Keon Johnson, I mean, he's starting to play, which is hurting me. So it's like Kaminga, he's starting to play. So like, I mean, these young guys are probably going to start to hurt me in the second half of the season, but
yeah.
Exactly, but for the most part, in the beginning, these guys, like even Bagley, I just had so many fortunate things going on, like Bagley and the issues.
Not playing, yeah.
Exactly, but now now he's starting to play. That started to hurt me too.
Right.
So there's just a lot of factors that were going on for me early on, and like I say, like these young guys really take off in the second half, and I don't know. I hope that doesn't really ruin my tank, but.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see you try to manage the tank. I mean, I'm dealing with the same in March Madness. I'm trying to tank, and I've got some guys that are just too productive, and I'm just like, someone just come take them off me or something. It's really hard here.
I'm sure you're nervous any day. You have to play Halliburton.
Halliburton I have stuck in my minors, so I think I'm okay with him, but I've got Christian Wood that has to play like at least once a week. And I think I have someone else big. Like Marcus Morris has been really annoying because he's been going off. been trying to
Yeah.
trade him, and everyone's like, nah, I'm good. So
Well, I mean, at least in a points league, you don't have to worry about a player disrupting too much unless you're playing another tanking team. So
right, that's true.
so
That's been
that's
helpful.
as far as especially like what I was saying with my tank in the court, a bunch of my players weren't playing at all. So it led to a lot of 09s. So as opposed to like
Nice.
if someone plays, it easily goes to like 2 7s, and you know how we have the double
Right, yeah.
headers.
Yeah.
Like I'll be going like there are some weeks I'll be going 09 all week, and then Sunday the Warriors were throwing Kaminga. I'm like, what are you doing? And then he makes like one bucket, and then
Right.
I get 4 wins for the week. I'm like, sheesh. So,
Right. And you win turnovers and you win field goal because you was one per week.
exactly.
That's very funny. Yeah,
So,
I mean, tanking is definitely a lot harder in categories versus the points league, because with the points league of just having like an all or nothing of just a win or a loss makes it easier.
Definitely, yeah. Like so I definitely feel the pain of everyone over in the bubble that's tanking.
Right. Speaking of the bubble, I think one of the most impressive things this year has to be Joy's turnaround, and how he went from complaining that people weren't tanking correctly last year and that he needed to have the last spot, right? And now he's just like at the top of the standings fighting with Mutombo. It's just been really, really impressive to see that turnaround.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because I traded for both of his picks during the off season, and like and everyone was pretty much treating it like a second round pick just based on looking at his team,
right?
And my whole thing is like I'm not going to treat it like a second round pick because I have faith in the league as a whole, and just how competitive it is. So
I don't know, Kase. That sounds like you're saying Joy sucks.
No, I'm not saying
drama over here.
No, I'm not saying Joy sucks at all. Because I mean, I understood, but my whole thing was like, you don't know.
That's true. He could get some injuries, and all of a sudden he's in the teams, right? Yeah, for sure.
Or you can make a bad trade here or there, and before you know it, like, just the whole concept of salaries. Like, I mean, like some trades will just look bad as far as this season goes, but it's a trade that you have to make in the future, and he's already made those kind of moves already, which I'm kind of looking at, and I'm like, damn, I probably should have held on to this 23 because I did kind of sell like really low on that one, but
right.
But yeah, it's just
T-Choi has my pick for this year, and he keeps like messaging me, telling me like, "Hey, can you just like slide down a few spots for me? If you just get me to the early 20s, I'll be happy." And I'm just like, "What are we talking about here?"
yeah, but yeah, definitely. But Joy's team is definitely still scary, regardless of the trade that he had to move for salary purposes. Because with Harden still going ham. He's been going ham the past week or two. I'm actually playing Joy this week, so I got to go against
me and Joy.
Yeah, the double header of death.
Yeah.
So
I think my like last matchup of the season, or maybe like the second to last or something, is against Joy. So I think that one's gonna for both of us is like a pre-playoff test, because I think we match up very interesting. So it'll be an interesting one for each of us. So I'm excited about that one.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm hanging on to the doubleheader of death because I got like 7, 10, and 1 or something like that. So I mean, you're smashing me in, but I guess because Joy has Collins, he's had Collins out all week, so I kind of been taking advantage of that.
I think he's coming back on Friday tomorrow.
Exactly. So we'll see, man. We'll see if I could survive.
So some other teams in Bubble that have really impressed me. JB, I think in my power rankings, if I remember correctly, was like my sleeper team as far as being one of the top teams. And sure enough, he's up in 4th.
He's 4th, yep.
Yeah, he's been very, very impressive with what he's done with his team. So he's definitely one to watch out for in the playoffs.
I would say a shout out to Elton's team too, the Delaware Bluecoats.
Yeah, it's funny. I guess I'll have to share this, and I'll probably look bad here. But Joy told me like towards the beginning of the season that one of the teams he was most scared of was Elton, and I think he had some injuries. I think Embiid was out, and he kind of like dropped to like the low teens or something. And and all of a sudden it started coming back. And I've always said like Elton is not really a threat. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
And we're seeing him now in like sixth place, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I need to reconsider that one. So he's
yeah.
definitely one that I've got my eye on a little bit
I
as he's
mean,
been climbing up the rankings.
yeah. So and he's been holding on to T.J. Warren this whole time. So
Right.
that's something you need to always pay attention to. Is like if a team is doing like really good, like still high standings, but like they've been holding on to an injured player that could,
Hmm.
that's like standard league type of players. So
Definitely.
um, that's a cool manifestation
For
to
sure. For sure.
see.
Yeah, and then I mentioned obviously earlier that I owed you an apology. You've obviously done incredibly well for I think what your expectations going into the season was. So
Oh
very
yeah, for
nicely done
sure.
there, being in top 10. And I think I owe another apology to the Vipers as well because I think I had him as dead last in the power rankings, and he's done
Oh
some
sure.
trades since then because he doesn't have his pick this year. And
Okay.
so I know he's been trying to go for a little bit more win now because he has got nothing to lose. Um,
hmm
and he's right on the cusp of making playoffs. I think he's in 17th right now. So
hmm hmm
definitely well done to the Vipers.
Yeah, yeah, and also shout out to Brax and his consistency of still being a top
Yeah,
team coming into this season after
definitely.
the
And how
whole.
about Matt Lawson with the
Oh
Skyforce?
yeah, oh
Bring him
yeah,
into the playoffs. Who saw
yeah,
that one
definitely. Yeah, nobody. But it's huge. Looking at Halliburton, Josh Giddey, like these are like young guys that are producing at low
He's going
salary.
to be
So
good. He's going to be
yeah,
good for a
yeah,
few
like
years for sure.
and if Mitch Robinson could, really become a stable starter, that could be dangerous,
For
along with
sure.
what Lonzo's turning into. And
Right.
also, just like yeah, like this is how if you tank the right way, it can really pay off. Because like on top of that, he has a lot of prospects that have a lot of upside. Like Kyra Lewis, I feel like is still
Hmm.
if you're a point guard, that was like a top 10 pick. There's a lot of potential in there.
For
So
sure.
I mean, he'll probably, I mean, he's probably using Nurkic this season, but I could imagine as in a year or two, he could flip him for like a younger piece to kind of go with what he has going on. So, um,
For sure.
yeah, like
One team on
Coco.
the opposite end that has made me very sad was the Go Go Date Mike.
hmm
He I think came in where also sort of maybe like on the lines like wasn't necessarily expected to do much this year. He was seen as one of the most extreme tankers last year, but he quietly assembled a team of SGA, Michael
Devin
Porter,
Booker
and Devin Booker. Yeah, like a big three,
hmm
along with Jalen Green as
and
well.
Jalen Green's there.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I was like, and he has guys like Kobe White as well. Killian Hayes, who we'll see if he actually amounts to anything. But he's got a team. He's got an interesting,
Yeah. That.
formidable starting team. And I think he started early where he was like in the playoffs, in good position, and just got slathered with injuries. Obviously with
The
MPJ,
upside. Yeah.
yeah,
The
SGA
upside of
is
this.
Booker,
Huh?
so he's down in the dumps. I think starting to tank again, and he has his own pick, so he can. But I was really looking forward to seeing him do well this year.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and I know Kobe White was out to begin the season.
Yep.
He has him too, and just
Yep.
a lot of the upside of his team relies on Michael Porter's ability to bounce back. So, but we'll see how that plays out. Oh yeah, he's getting a lot of value out of like Nas Little right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Hmm.
So, mm, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good shout out.
Yeah. And over on the court side, I think one of the teams that has really, really impressed me is Nick with the Suns. So he's actually in
Mhm.
third place right now, and he was one who came into the court league last year with me, and we did that like dispersal draft kind of towards the end of the season.
Mhm.
Um, so he took over a team that I don't think was very good.
Mhm.
And he's managed to put himself in a position where he's top three and really competing. And he's got a good squad. He's one of those where like you look at his team and there's no like stud, no stars like someone that's getting drafted like early first round. He's just got a very deep squad of guys that are just really producing. It's been very very impressive, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, like just That's how, if you pick the right young prospects in the right positions, like they could really pay off for you.
Right.
So,
Yeah, he's got guys like Garland, Desmond Bain. He's got Oubre. He's got Bamba. So it's been a really good season for him.
okay, yeah, and then circling back to the bubble, I did want to shout out to how Birmingham is doing as far as because I believe he a tanking team last year.
Yeah, Joel was tanking last year.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a tanker turn into a top 10 team. Whenever I see that, that's a interesting turnaround. I like to look into. He got
Jamal Murray is still on the shelf.
Exactly. He got Jamal, and that's something I noticed too. Jamal Murray and DeAndre Hunter are both on the shelf.
Oh, he has Hunter too. Oh man.
Yeah, so
he could be the first one come playoff time.
Exactly, and if you got guys like Nas Reed, like these are sleepers. Someone like Nas Reed, depending on what Cat, if Cat, let's say if he's, I'm not saying that he's gonna rest, but you never know if you get like some days off or whatnot.
True.
Like Nas Reed can like give you some value here or there, or like Divishenko, once he gets fully healthy, he could be pretty dangerous. So, yeah, that's an interesting shout out. But I guess one disappointing team I would say right now is I think Austin Spurs is probably disappointed with his outcome so far. But he started to turn it around. But I think he started okay to begin with, and then I didn't pay too close attention to what was happening, but he did start to tumble down the standings, and this is someone that. People were, as far as the value of people's draft picks, people were kind of scared of taking on his pick. So he was a team that people were expecting to be a top team based on, him trading away his farm after tanking. So
yeah, and he doesn't have his pick this year, so I know he was definitely trying to compete. I mean, he's got Beal and Ingram as a core. I know Ingram's missed some time, so I think that has been challenging for him. But it's actually very interesting because like the middle of the pack and bubble, the standings are just so close. I mean, if you look at the Spurs, they're in 20th, right, with 93 wins, 91 losses. So over 500, yet he's like just about in the bottom 10. And if you look at like 14th, it's just like a 6-game difference. So he's definitely like right there. He's actually only a 5-game difference away from 14th. So he can definitely still make playoffs. I think just has to string together a couple of wins, and I don't know what the rest of his schedule looks like, but I think these next few weeks are going to be very interesting to see how those like 10 to 20 spots shake out.
Oh man, how about an Adrian first round showdown? Bro, we love that.
If we can just have Beal and Ingram sitting, I'm totally fine with that.
Beal and Ingram sitting. Look at you with your stacked team. Asking for missed games.
Oh man.
So yeah, that I guess that kind of covers the landscape of the court, and
well, I think one last one we have to talk about with the court is Justin with his big talk. Going into the season saying he's best team in the league, he's so stacked. I feel like I just on behalf of so many that have given him a lot of crap for all of his talk. I would like to point out that he's not doing very well and is quite low in the standings. And I know he said he's tanking this year. He's taking the year off. Next year he's coming with a vengeance. We'll see. He's 22nd in the standings right now, and I don't know if that team will ever be fully healthy. He's taking the team with like everyone that has like just the most risk of missing games. Kyrie, Porzingis. He's got Sexton out, Ben Simmons. Like I don't know what this team is.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I love that approach of getting the guys that are injured, and because people tend to doubt those guys a lot of times.
That's true.
And so, like, I mean, you don't trade for them immediately because you're still trading for the value of what they just did. But just let it settle in, let the injury marinate. Like people start to doubt the person that stepped in front of their places, playing well, and people are starting to say, "Oh, are they going to come back and take their spot?" And blah blah blah. Like you see how quick it was for Markelle Fultz to lose his starting spot.
Right.
But you never know like how big of a competition is going to be. But I think a lot of people are jumping to the conclusion that it's a wrap. Like Cole Anthony's running with it, and I think you're on that side of the argument as far as Cole Anthony running with that starting job and not looking back. So,
well, if someone can just manage to nab DeJounte Murray and Julius Randle from Justin and give them a couple of more injury-prone guys, I think the league would be over the moon.
I don't know, because then his tank would be strong.
It would be very strong. He doesn't have his pick, so we're all good.
That's true. He doesn't, and that's something I learned so hard last year because I had so much confidence in my team in the bubble that I traded my pick.
Mm-hmm.
After seeing how that unfolded, I said never again. I'm never trading my pick away until it's like close to the deadline, and I see that I'm good, like clearly in the playoffs, because just just the way these 30-team leagues are designed, like you could really jump from like 11th to like 20th, like in an instant, So that's something to be very wary of. So yeah. But by the way, Justin was talking. It's no surprise he doesn't have his pick. I'm sure.
Oh man.
But I guess shout out to the tankers because Justin's right in the fold with us. I think Seed was trying to tank, but he's not supposed to be tanking, honestly speaking, based on what his team is. But that's why he's probably the worst team tanking right now. So yep. I think he's I don't know. Are the Wizards tanking as well? I don't even think the Wizards are tanking. They're not.
Wizards are in 20th, and Jazz, so Zed is in 21st. So they're sort of like in an awkward, late lotto stage right now.
And that's what I was trying to highlight, because I don't think Wizards are intentionally tanking, but I think Zed is. So to see that they're only 2 games apart.
That's really, really funny.
and then I'm looking at Justin. He wasn't even trying to tank. So seeing that Zed is even higher than Justin by like
that's
2. Right. Yes, what is that? 9 games or so. So oh no, it's 2 games right now, but 9 based on their matchup. But that's an interesting thing to see. Zed struggling and trying to tank.
For sure.
But outside of that, it's like how many teams we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The Raptors, Clippers, Cavaliers, 76ers, Pistons, Blazers, Magic, Rockets. So we got like 8, 9 teams trying to tank and get down there.
Well, it's going to be a fun one this offseason.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm pretty comfortable. Jerome's trying to compete for my number 1 spot, but it's all good. Like I don't mind even if he catches up, because at the end of the day, the bottom 3 have all the same odds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're set.
So
you're set, Kase.
Yeah. I should be good, but yeah, that's interesting. Unfold. So I guess the last topic I was going to get into is the FBI World Cup. Unless you want to touch base on anything with the court and bubble, or are you?
No, I'm good. Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. So with the FBI World Cup. It's just, interesting, regular season outcome. I think almost everybody that joined from our network made the playoffs outside of NZ Bulls, who was in my division. So it was interesting because my division actually had 4, I think it was 4 of us that were in this, in the same division. So, yeah, exactly. So that was something we were always kind of aware of. We were the team that was doing the best all season was Worth. So he was a top 4 seed like the whole season. And then on the flip side, it was me, Andrew, and NZ Bulls. we were all outside of the playoffs. So like it's a 12-team leagues, 12-team divisions or whatever. So 8 teams make the playoffs. So out of the 4 teams that were outside of the playoffs, all 3 of us were in that range of not making the playoffs. We were struggling pretty early, right? So as this is unfolding, I noticed Bulls kind of creeps up into the playoffs or whatever, but not quite. And then I just catch a hot streak, so I get pretty comfortable within the playoff seeding. And then Andrew is kind of like, I think he's at the 9th spot. He's not quite at the 8th spot, so he's at the 9th spot. And the NZ Bulls is at the no. He got to the 8th spot. So before last week, he got to the 8th spot, and NZ Bulls at the 9th spot. So we were in this weird dilemma where I think I had the 6th spot, and we were all within like 2 games. Or I had like a 6-game lead ahead of them, but they were both within like, I would say like 3 or 4 games. So funny is me and Andrew come into a matchup, and we're playing, and I'm just looking at how the top 4 seeds are going to play out, and I noticed that Worth is probably going to slide down to the 4th spot, and the way and if I win, then I was probably going to slide up to the 5th spot, and I did not want to play his stacked schedule, so I kind of planned ahead of time to say, okay, no matter what, I'm going to try to avoid seeding against Worth. So when I noticed Worth was going to slide down, I started to bench some of my guys to kind of make sure I don't get that 5th seed, right?
It's a very interesting strategy when you like tank for
seeding, right?
Yeah, for like a strategic purpose, like not to lose, but just so you have a better, playoff scenario and matchup. It's a very interesting
definitely. Definitely. I mean, and it's not that easy. It takes a lot of like math and like forecasting, because you got to look at things like 2 days ahead of time and look at what categories like they might win or lose, and so there's a lot of math going on to kind of execute it. So I definitely started benching some guys or whatever, and then NZ Bulls noticed this at the end of all the matchups, and he was like, "Yo, is this collusion? You just let him into the playoffs?" and I'm like, "No, it's all about the seeding. Like, it's about my survival.
Well,
like, I don't care."
The worst part with that, like when you do that, where you tank for seeding purposes, is a lot of times it can have implications as far as like some team making it to the playoffs versus someone else.
Right.
It's so frustrating. And like you have the right to do what's best for you, but when it ends up screwing over someone else, it's definitely a very frustrating situation.
Right, and that's exactly what happened to NZ Bulls, and I relate to it because that's what happened to me in the bubble actually last year. Because with me, I sold my 1st round pick to Zed, right? It's funny, I sold my 1st round pick to Zed, and he was clowning me as far as he just saw me sliding down the standings because I had KP out, then I had Markkinen out, and I had like KD out, so he just saw me sliding down the standings mocking me. And then the last matchup where I had a slight chance of making the playoffs, I was sitting at like 15th or 14th, and then Brett was like at 18th or so. So that last week, Brett and Zed like were playing each other, and they were kind of like clowning me. They were clowning me already, saying like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna lose," because like Zed was trying to tank and Brett's trying to make the playoffs. Yeah, so they planned it exactly so Brett could have the best outcome. So he jumped me in the playoffs. So I mean, it happens, But at the end of the day, it's like how I see it is like if a team's in a position to make that kind of move, you can't be mad at that, because like I even though like I was struggling in the beginning in the World Cup, like the fact that I caught fire put me in position to be able to say, okay, I want to like target a certain seed, So that's interesting. Yeah, definitely. So,
but best of luck to all of the association members in the FBA World Cup playoffs. Hopefully, you guys all represent us well and make a deep run.
Oh yeah, definitely. Outside of our division, Colby's actually also in there. He's feeling real confident. He thinks he could win the whole thing. Brax is also in there. I think he's kind of struggling in his battle right now, but prayers out to Brax. Hopefully you pull through that. I know Ruto is actually. I think he's winning, but he's in a tough battle. Like his opponent is firing away as well.
And Fruto.
And Fruto. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's in a matchup right now that's pretty intense. So it's interesting, to see who will get through and to see how this whole thing plays out. But the goal, I got Giannis on my team, and at the end, if you win the entire thing, you win a signed Giannis jersey. So that would be a dope thing to do if I could pull that off.
Sick.
Yeah. That would be a dope thing if I could pull that off. But I mean, I'm not feeling too confident in my team. I don't think I did.
If you don't have Porzingis and Durant, you're good.
I mean, I didn't do too. I mean, I threw away my third round pick because I picked Zion. So my third round pick went to waste. But I still got my last pick is Cole Anthony. So I still got those low end value guys. So I have a weird balance of a couple of real solid guys and I have
holding on to Zion.
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry.
You still holding on to Zion?
No, I dropped him weeks ago.
Okay.
But what happened was I have a mixture of 6 or 7 really solid guys that just dominate, and then I have 6 or 7 peripheral guys that are just great pickups for standard league. So overall, I'm not feeling confident in the team, but I do feel confident in my ability into adjusting, my lineup and manipulating stat approaches or whatever. So, I mean, we'll see how that whole thing plays out. If when we get eliminated, we hope someone else moves on, and it's just happy. It's fun to be in something that is so big, and there's a lot of members. And
I might have to join next year. I was on the fence this year. I might look at it next year.
Yeah, definitely join it because we're up to it's almost 200 teams in it. Wow. So that's a fun thing to see it, it working smoothly. And, once again, shout out to Matt and B-Dub for putting that whole thing together. So, is there any other topics? So I think we got everything covered, right?
I think so, yeah. I think you've gone through everything we had prepped for today. So, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. And, looking forward to the second half of the fantasy season. I'm sure there's a lot of more exciting things to come.
All right, dope. All right, for sure. Then to wrap this up, this is opinions, not facts. Anything you disagree with, leave us a comment, send a message. Always willing to debate and see other perspectives. Next episode when we bring in other members to discuss, just the playoffs, because we'll be closer to the playoffs and the trade deadline and whatnot, and hopefully we'll have either Brax or even I know MF Fruto has hit me up about getting on, or JB. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah. With that being said, thank you for listening to Case Court Podcast. It's the realest basketball fan alive. It's your boy Kase and your boy Adrian, and we out.
I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to get up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. Call me Captain, always gotta look for him. Beat so tight, I almost put a hook on it. Verse so fire, almost put a cook on it. Had this shit jumping, looking like I put a foot on it. Got 100 on the dash when I book Sonic. Only game that I play, got a rook on it. Got to flow so hard that it looks solid. Y'all be cynical, pitiful, read a book, college. Running it, they was punting like Weezy. Your baby stunting to Satan, I'm paying nothing to sofa like David Ruffin. All these niggas gossip about, get why they hating them. I ain't singing to these bitches, I leave that shit to Drake and them. Pull up in the all black, but I never was saving them. I was probably just slaying them, nigga barely was dating them. I could do this till I'm 50 cause I rap with the cars. You gon' quit it when you 30 cause you rap in the car. Swear your shit up the song. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to get up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a cat scan. Trying to get up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been rolling dolo on them, I don't need me no robbing, so I be running through paper that be thick but no robbing. Man, I grew up in the city where them niggas be robbing. I ain't stressing, I ain't messing with a bird like a robin. Man, these niggas acting reckless, I approach it with caution. Finessing how I move, but go harder than Rob, man. Even at the bottom, I reach up for the top, man. This is how you elevate from worker to the boss, man. I ain't Mike Posner, I ain't posting too often, but I'm trying to run the map from LA out to Boston. Relationship goals, what the hell is she talking? I'm just trying to bang goals, something like Andy Dalton. Niggas say they ballin', well, how much did it cost? And I ain't talking LA, but these niggas be dodging, looking for the competition, feeling like I done lost.